Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, you are coming to create this nice and beautiful poster in Photoshop. So guys, as you can see, this is the main screenshot of the entire work that I created, and this is the main project right over here. So we are coming to go through the steps that I used I went through in this process. So as you can see, let's turn off this screenshot and let's open the main project right over here. So after opening the main project right over here, the next thing that you guys will do is to go to Files, select New, and choose 1080 by 1080 pixels. Set the resolution to 72. Keep the orientation to portrait. After that, maintain all the default settings right over here and click on Create. So after clicking on Create, the next thing that you guys should do next is to create a gradient color for the work. So what I did was to go to the adjustment panel, select gradients right over here. After selecting gradient, this is the color that I chose. So with the color codes, as you can see, this is 252737. So after inserting that, click on OK, and with the other color, the color codes are 0B, 0C, 115. After that, what I did next is to set the style to linear, angle to 90, scale to 100%, and that is it. So after creating your gradient color or your gradient fill, the next thing that you have to create is to create a solid white color. With that, come to the adjustment panel, select solid color right over here. After selecting solid color, the next thing that you do is to create a layer mask. If you don't have a layer mask attached to your color, create a layer mask for it. Press Ctrl I to invert it to black. So after that, what you guys will do next is to go to the brush section. So as you can see guys, I have a lot of brushes right over here. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel and I get 11,000 subscribers, I will release all these brushes for you guys so that you can get access to them for free and use it for your photo manipulation, your graphic design. So this is the brush that I use for this crunchy background, right? So this is the sports cracks. So I chose this cracks right over here and I started painting or stamping on the artboard. After that, what I did next was to decrease the opacity. To 41 so that we will not get the cracks much on the artboard. So after that, the next thing that I did was to insert my players. So as you can see, with the first player, I set the opacity to 61%, and with the second player, I set the opacity to 61%. So the image in front is at 100%. I didn't decrease the opacity, right? So after that, what I did next was to go to the adjustment panel, choose hue and saturation. After choosing hue and saturation, this is what I did with the hue and saturation. So the saturation is set to 25, the hue is set to 245, and the lightness is set to 0, and the preset is set to custom. So that is what I did with the hue and saturation. After that, I created a rectangle. After creating the X rectangle, what I did was to decrease the opacity to 64%, and I added my text, which is the best player. So with the best player, what I did was to type it twice, and after typing the best player, I duplicate it. After duplicating it, I place one behind the player and one on top of the player. So it is a text effect that mostly you can see it in videos of other people. So okay, so this is the other one right over here. So I place it on top. The reason why I turn the visibility on is that I added some effects to it, so that's why it didn't come. So let me activate the effects and double click on the effects so that you guys can see it properly. So with the effect, I set the opacity, the fill opacity to 0, and I chose the stroke option, and I set the size of the stroke to 3 pixels. After that, everything here remains the same. So when you're done, click on OK. So after that, guys, let's go back to the test. After typing the best player, what I did next was to add the front player. I added smart filter and effects to the front player. So with the smart filter, I added camera raw filters. If you go there, I did some small adjustments. with the camera raw filter, and I added effects to the player right over here, which is the front player. So after the camera raw filter and the drop shadow effects, so let me open the drop shadow effect for you guys to see how I did it. So with the drop shadow, I set the opacity to 65%, the angle is at 92 degrees, the distance is at 0, the spread is at 9, and the size is at 43 pixels. That is all for the drop shadow. After that, I created a rectangle right over here. After creating the rectangle, what I did was to press Ctrl T and right click on it, select perspective, and I started dragging the rectangle right over here first to the rectangle. So I added the stroke and a drop shadow to the rectangle. So as you can see, the stroke is set to 3 pixels, everything remains intact, the color is set to white, and with the drop shadow, the distance is set to 0, the spread 9%, and the size 51 pixels. After that, the opacity is set to 65%. When you're done, click on OK. And the next thing that I did was to add this Barcelona logo right here. After that, I added a photo filter for the entire work. And after adding the photo filter, the next thing that I did was to type Lewandowski. After typing the Robert Lewandowski, I made a screenshot of the entire work and I sent it to camera raw filters to do this great adjustment. After that, that is the end of today's tutorial. So guys, make sure you subscribe, like, and share my YouTube videos. And guys, don't forget that I have a brush pack. Let me reach 11,000 subscribers, and I'll drop all the brushes for you guys to get access to it for free. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time in my next video. Bye bye.